Welcome to Second Life Sounds, the origin and identity of waifus. I'm Bottia Grey, and today we're diving into the fascinating world of waifus, a unique escort club in Second Life, with our amazing guest, Alyssa Grey, the owner of Waifus.
Thank you for that lovely introduction. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure on having you here, Alyssa. And well, one of the questions I wanted to do to you, Alyssa, can you share with us how Waifus was founded and what inspired you its creation?
Absolutely. So, Waifus was really born from me wanting a space where my girls and I could feel safe, supported, and actually have fun. I'd basically spent enough time at other clubs to see what wasn't working. Places were mostly chaotic and unorganized, weren't super respectful. My own friend group art was already, this little bubble of feminine energy, humor, and they deserved somewhere that celebrated that instead of stifling it. So, really, instead of us trying to fit into the mold of a typical Second Life club, decided to build something that felt like it could be ours. A space where the dancers could show their personality, they could flirt, they could be silly, they could be seductive, and just feel protected. We wanted a space that wasn't just transactional, something that was just more warm and playful. I wanted my girls to feel like they were stepping into a world that was just designed around them, not necessarily something that they had to adapt to. So that's just really where Waifu started. It's just a little universe where my girls could shine safely and just kind of be themselves.
So, Alyssa, you mentioned that some clubs don't administrate or they don't treat their dancers well, like your girls. You did mention a more open space or for your girls in your bubble. What do you mean with this?
Yeah, so to kind of not to really get into names or anything of previous clubs, but just kind of taking a step back and looking at how things were run and how the dancers were kind of asked to carry themselves, it felt very stifling. They were typically asked, don't be so aggressive with the guests, don't be so aggressive with the other dancers. It can make some of the girls uncomfortable, which all the girls kind of still had a level of professionalism that they carried, but they just wanted to kind of keep things light and fun, have conversations with each other. And it felt like, let's just be quiet while guests are popping in. And it didn't necessarily feel fair because we were, giving the other girls opportunities to converse with everyone. And rather than actually allowing the girls to be themselves and continue to create a very warm and friendly environment, it just kind of came off very cold and just like transactional, which is something that we definitely didn't want to do. So that was just kind of my signal that something had to change.
And I can totally understand that. But Alyssa, I do want to ask, what makes waifus so special?
Honestly, it's because Waifus is, it's different mostly because it's not just a club. We worked hard to create a whole select your waifu journey. We built everything honestly around personality and presence. The dancers don't just get on stage, they kind of show up as little characters. They flirt, they tease, they banter, they build these little story arcs with guests. And it feels like the guests are stepping into like an Otome style world where each girl has her own specific charm or energy. And that storyline is there for each person to kind of explore and discover with that girl. We've always leaned into having a curated experience. We want to have like a warm, comfortable environment. We want our guests to feel welcome and seen. I mean, obviously, we have some girls that are, kind of bratty, a little chaotic, but it just kind of keeps things light and fun. It is intentional. It's immersive, and the guests don't necessarily just watch the room. They get to pick their particular waifu, and they get to connect and fall into with them.
I think that's very great. And from what you're telling me, I see there's a community. So, my question comes to how does the community contribute to the club identity as success?
The community contributes honestly by fully diving into the chaos with us. They match our energy. Sometimes it's soft, sometimes it's bratty, sometimes it's just completely unhinged. There really aren't any dull moments at waifus, mostly because our guests just kind of love to play along and kind of hit back. They hype up our girls, they joke with us, they flirt back. They just overall just become a part of the atmosphere instead of just watching it. And even with all that energy, we're kind of very mindful of who's in the room, what they enjoy. We like to pay attention to our audience, what they like, what kind of interactions are happening, just so that we can kind of get down the type of waifu that they're really looking for. Some guests do want that soft and sweet, some want the bold and bratty, some just kind of dive into chaotic gremlin energy. They like the entertainment, they like the communication. The community doesn't just support waifus, like, they help shape it by just staying engaged. And, the back and forth is definitely a part of what keeps the club whole. It keeps it alive.
Well, I found that very amusing, Alyssa. But I do want to ask before we end up this episode, what would you suggest anyone who wants to join waifus or in general the escort life scene? Like, what do you suggest them as soon as they come into the escort life in Second Life?
First and foremost, anyone that's attempting to become an escort on Second Life, know what you're comfortable with, know your boundaries before you even consider doing this type of work, because you do come across a lot of different people from all walks of life into a lot of different things. And you don't want to feel pressured into doing something that you're not okay with, something that is going to push past your moral compass, something that you feel like is going to kind of sit with you for a while. Don't let anyone kind of push you around for the sake of money into something that you're not comfortable with. Safety is a huge part of our brand. We want to make sure that you are in the right mental state of mind before you hop into anything, before you attach a toy to yourself, before you just start talking to random strangers on the internet, about their specific kinks and things that entertain them. And essentially, like, don't take it too seriously. Most people that are popping into these clubs, they just want companionship. They want someone that they can have a conversation with. It's not 100% sexy time every time you step into these clubs. And in particular, it really is no different. People want to be entertained, and that's typically what we do here, and that's what you want to serve, is warm, friendly entertainment for all.
But anyways, thank you so much, Alyssa Gray, for sharing your insights with us. And stay tuned for our next episode where we'll explore the creativity, economics, and future horizon of waifus. So be prepared for Second Life Sounds Episode 2, Creativity, Economic, and Future Horizons. Don't forget to follow Second Life Sounds on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. By doing so, you'll not only support the show, but you'll also gain access to a variety of engaging and fascinating episodes that we're sure you'll love.